Artificial restart days. You love them, I love them, I'm damn near addicted to them. I'm always coming up with some way, some fashion that this weekend or this particular day or this particular month can be my new beginning. In fact, I just did it earlier this month in a video where I said I rebuke the first half of 2026. This is because the first half of the year did not go how I envisioned, and I'm feeling like I could magically just piece it together in the second half because this is a new starting point, right? The truth is, my brain has probably just gotten so addicted to the start of something new that I have to constantly tell myself, okay, this is a new point, this is a new beginning, and really, nothing is changing because I'm just looking for artificial days. So for example, I say, okay, I'm gonna change this bad habit at the start of the week. Well, now I'm thinking, is the start of the week Sunday or Monday? Because on Sunday, I don't really want to go to sleep on time. I don't really want to stop looking at that adult content. I don't really want to stop treating my body like ass. So then I say, well, Wednesday, that's the first of the month. Okay, it's a new month. It's going to be a new me. I'm going to be ready to tackle all of the problems that I've been avoiding for months, if not years. Something I'm starting to notice is that it doesn't work like that, at least not in my case. When I'm being soft with myself, when I'm being generous with how I treat myself in terms of finally getting that action accomplished, I find myself just falling back into old habits because really there are no consequences. A lot of us are going to fight battles internally, and when we don't express that problem or we don't express that result that we want to somebody else, we don't really have to be beholden to it. Oftentimes, you're going to hear people or read things that say you need to treat yourself like how you would talk to a friend that's expressing a problem to you. But a lot of people aren't really in the mental space to deal or help with their friends or their loved ones' issues because they don't even know how to treat themselves. Intelligent people will constantly tell you that you need to be around someone or a group that can challenge you in some capacity. Somebody that is willing to tell you that this is kind of stupid, and if you make this change or if you follow this great advice that I've implemented and actually learned from, then you can be great too. That doesn't mean be a complete ass to people, and it definitely doesn't mean be a complete ass to yourself. But you have to know that you can't approach it with this soft mindset, because soft mindsets don't actually want change. They want comfortability. So you might be asking, who the hell doesn't want to be comfortable? But what I'm realizing in myself, at least, is that comfortability doesn't demand the changes I need. And I'm not even really comfortable in my current circumstances. That's why I'm constantly looking for artificial restart days. I'm not satisfied with what is occurring. I need to start over. I need to make something different. What makes it even more confusing is that you're going to hear a lot of people telling you how willing you need to be to restart. When you restart, you're able to come at it with a new perspective and get rid of those strategies that clearly weren't working in the past. I mean, how many times have you tried working on a problem and it's just racking your brain and you feel like you can't solve it in that instant? So you actually make the effort to just sleep on it and you say you're going to tackle it first thing tomorrow. And then that same problem that was plaguing you for hours, you're able to solve it in like half the time the next day after you come off good rest. There is beauty in restarting. There is beauty in a new day, a new week, a new month. But if you keep on restarting, that means you're never really building momentum. Upwards momentum, to me, is so crucial because I feel like life demands a fall-off point at some capacity. So if you're sitting at 0 because you never made any upwards movement, you're still eventually going to go down. Now, by the time that you're genuinely sick and tired, you're operating at a negative, and it's twice as hard to get to the point that you envisioned, to the point where you might not even envision that same thing. You keep on lessening and lessening your goals because now you need something that's attainable. For the past year, I have been treating my body absolutely horribly. I'm talking poor sleep, poor diet, inconsistent workouts, and inconsistent sunlight. These are all things that I've battled well in the past, and I know effective strategies to get over them. But I just come into contact with this laziness, this part of myself that doesn't want to move upwards. It wants to be comfortable. And that is what ends up making the days artificial. Because there are going to be those people who implement a good change into their life, or they just stop a bad habit cold turkey. They know how to do that on a particular day, and those days are usually completely random because that's when they said enough is enough. Some people are able to operate like that. But in my case, I realized that I'm approaching with this mindset that I'm not really going to make this change on that day because this isn't really any different from any other day. This is just me saying the same thing, and maybe it'll work for a while, and maybe I'll feel better because I started going to sleep on time, or I started eating some vegetables, or I started going outside like a normal person, and now I feel good for a few days, but then my tank runs out, and then I come right back into contact with that laziness. I've talked about this a little bit before on the channel, but being subject to the binge purge cycle will literally put a weight on your back that it feels like it takes 1,000 people to lift off. You have your binge or your extended period of time where you just indulge in that bad habit and you basically say to yourself, I'm gonna do what I want, I'm gonna do what makes me happy, who the hell is gonna stop me? You genuinely enjoy it for that period of time. And then you reach a point where you're disgusted with the habit and you decide you're going to purge or completely remove it from all aspects of your life. However, because your brain is actively fighting it at every instance where you would otherwise do it, now you're feeling like, okay, I have resisted all of this time. Haven't I earned my opportunity to go back to the bad habit to be comfortable again? And then you enter the cycle again of binging. All of that sucks. It's like the textbook definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. It is exhausting. Funnily enough, I'm recording this video on July 31st. Obviously, my next opportunity for an artificial restart day would be tomorrow, August 1st. So I literally found myself thinking, well, it's a Saturday. Saturdays are usually the day I chill. Is that the day that I want to start going harder and taking more responsibility over my life? Maybe not. Maybe I do. Maybe I'll just start on Monday, or maybe I should start on Sunday. That's the start of the week, right? You would be baffled that an adult could deal with this in any capacity because you feel like that's so childish when you think about the process out loud. So when I think about it, I'm literally thinking, how could I ever be subject to these repeating patterns? And then my brain comes up with the answer. It's because our willpower is limited. Cold turkey strategy can work. You can implement a good habit one day, just seemingly random because you're sick and tired of what came before. But what really works, what consistently works, are the systems. Like when I make these YouTube videos, there are 4 pillars to me making a video that I'm proud of. That's 1, the idea, 2, recording, 3, the background gameplay, and 4, the thumbnail. I noticed that when I obviously have a fleshed out idea and the gameplay and the thumbnail ready to go prior to making the video, I can feel such a relief come off my back. The amount of work that I end up doing is the same, but the system is tweaked for a better flow. So obviously I can have the goal of making 3 videos a week, but without proper systems, I would put out trash. My current workflow basically demands that I make something that I'm proud of, or at the very least, I'm finding ways to consistently improve. That way, I don't have to constantly feel like, oh, that video isn't good enough, so now I gotta erase it from my channel, it's gotta be deleted. Or I don't feel the need to constantly start a new channel and start from scratch because now everything that I did in the past isn't good enough. I can look at a past work and say, okay, I used this, and this parts of the system, what worked, what didn't work, and now I can make something much better out of that. Plus, you never know what kind of ideas are going to arise from something you thought was complete trash 2 months ago. So what happens when you make these systems and they work? They work for a decent while and you feel like things are actually starting to change. You start to build momentum. What happens when you slip up? Because it is extremely likely that you will. Like I said, we're operating off of limited willpower. I have the disgusting habit of telling myself that if one day this system failed, then I have completely failed at my goal. That is even more idiotic now that I say it out loud. I have seen the results of making an effective system, and I know that I could continue going back to that right after I've made the mistake. That doesn't mean that I indulge in the mistake because I know that there's a way to fix it. I know that that mistake is just that. It is a mistake. It is an accident. It is not a part of my continued strategy of life. That is where the softness comes in. That's where you need to tell yourself, like, bro, this is one error in a sea of success. Those same friends and those same people that you might be lucky enough to have in your life that are going to challenge you, those are going to be the same people that approach the situation that you're in from a logical perspective. They're going to tell you, wait, bro, you know this one slip up is not representative of who you are. A great example that I could give is actually in the NBA. When a team comes straight out the gate, the season just started, and they win 10 or 11 straight. And then they lose one game to like their conference opponent, and the media goes crazy and they say, oh, there's maybe a chink in the armor. This team would definitely beat them in the playoffs. Oh, and then the original team goes on an even greater win streak. And then this win streak involves beating the team that beat them that one time. And now everybody's back on their case saying that they're the greatest and they're probably going to win it all. Or a more personal example that comes from when I was working. That feels like a distant memory now, but I do remember things from that time. I had this one manager who was constantly complaining to me about the small mistakes that new hires would make. In one instance, he's complaining about something a new hire failed to do. And I'm just like, bro, that person just got here. And he looks at me and he's like, yo, that person has been here for 3 months. And in my head, I'm like, how many times in those 3 months has that person failed to do that task that they are still working here? Clearly, it can't be as much of a problem as you're making it out to be. And even on the subject of being there for 3 months, 3 months is so small in the grand scale of things because at that point I had been working there for almost a year and I felt like I just got there. At that point in my life, life was balancing or stretching in several different directions. And I'm just like, even if I spend 30 hours here a week, this is a small portion of everything that I do. So I could only imagine that someone with even greater responsibilities than me, how they would feel about the job and making a mistake that the manager might dwell over, but they don't even think twice about it. Not in an arrogant way, in a fact that it is a small portion of their life and they have other things to focus on. Not to mention, if they dwell on that failure, they can't really build the skills to become better and not do it again. So when it comes to starting over, I'm here to tell you that it probably won't successfully happen on that new week or that new month or that new moon where the earth is tilted at a 45-degree angle. It's probably gonna come when you're sick and tired, when your body and mind are physically rejecting all of the previous strategies that you've used. It's going to have to become repulsive almost, the idea of going back to what you continually did in the past. That way, when you actually need restart days, they become more valuable. And that way you can actually improve from that point instead of just halting momentum for no reason. If anything I said resonated with you, please drop a like and tell me some of the most ridiculous ways that you've designated a restart day. I'll see y'all in the next one.